Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. We've covered our fair share of big time, and I mean big time, Hollywood actors here on the 6M. We've covered a lot of the MCUs, so of course you've got a lot of the big time Hollywood actors from one end of that universe to the next. Everybody from, RDJ to Robert Redford, for goodness sake, Sam Jackson. And when it comes to stuff that we like to do here on the show, we do often cover the epics. We do often cover the big time films. We do often cover the stuff that's made a ton of money. We've talked about Mel Gibson and the Lethal Weapon franchise here. We've talked about the X-Men franchise here, Sir Patrick Stewart. We've talked about, Eddie Murphy on the show before here, of course, several of his films. We've talked about Denzel Washington, the great Denzel Washington, Burt Reynolds, and assorted, culmination of big time actors here that we've talked about. Russell Crowe here on the show. You name it, we've done it. We continue to do it. But I'm going to tell you something, kids. In terms of the modern, I guess I can still say modern era of Hollywood, maybe. I don't know if I can say that anymore about this guy, but there was once upon a time when this guy, meaning Will Smith, was one of the biggest actors on the planet. He was one of the hottest properties around. We talked about Jim Carrey here recently on the show and pointed out to anyone who didn't know that at one time Jim Carrey was the hottest thing on the planet. Well, the same could absolutely be said of Will Smith. So today we're talking about Independence Day, which is kind of different because we've never talked about Independence Day here, which is weird. We talked about iRobot, and we did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Bel-Air episode happened December 26, 2020. The iRobot episode you can catch from January 24th, 2022. BoinkStudios.com, children, for all the links. And there is the shameless plug. But we've never talked about this movie. I'm anxious to talk about it. I watched it again for the first time in a long time. We're going to talk about this guy, the rest of this cast, stuff that he's done that isn't great, and maybe stuff that he's done that isn't great before a live audience, before the entire world. And you could probably guess what I'm talking about, right? But first, we do this. Independence Day is a 1996 American science fiction action film directed by Roland Emmerich, written by Emmerich and Dean Devlin, and stars an ensemble cast that includes primarily Will Smith and a host of others. The film focuses on disparate groups of people who converge in the Nevada desert in the aftermath of a worldwide attack by a powerful extraterrestrial race. With the other people of the world, they launch a counterattack on July 4th, which of course is Independence Day here in these United States. Released on July 3rd, 1996. Great timing. Total running time, 145 minutes. The budget for this film is $75 million. A paltry $75 million. The box office for this movie, $817.4 million. And that is your lowdown for Independence Day. Phil, we talked a little bit before we hit the record button here today about this and about several other things. When it comes to blockbusters, man, and big time actors who at one time were red hot, what do you think about this film? And how's it hit you now after it's been around since 96?
Really fun popcorn film. I still have fun with it. There's bits of it that's a little dated now when you watch it. But movie's almost 30 years old, so I expect no less. But this was at the beginning of Will Smith becoming the king of the summer. At one point, this guy would drop every summer, and he would be Mr. Box Office.
Let's talk about that. His first break on the big screen was Bad Boys in 95. Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black all came within 2 years of each other. Enemy of the State, which came in 98. Wild Wild West, we don't have to talk about that. Legend of Bagger Vance in 2000. 2001 was Ali, Men in Black 2 in '02. Bad Boys 2 in '03. I, Robot in '04. Phil, his filmography is crazy. Like, absolutely nuts. The amount of stuff this guy has done in his time. But you're right, man. Mr. Summer Blockbuster. This is him in his prime for sure.
Yeah, before the MCU was the summer blockbuster every year. There was Will Smith.
Mm, that's fair. Yeah. Shark Tale, Hitch, Pursuit of Happiness, which I continue to think is a very underrated film. I'm a big fan of that movie. I Am Legend, another underrated film in my opinion. Hancock, which I enjoyed.
Hancock is great.
Yeah.
Kind of, there's stuff in the final act that is kind of not great, but the
Yeah.
movie on the whole is good.
3 Men in Black films. And they're doing, was it Bad Boys 4 now?
Yes, Bad Boys
Yeah.
for Life came out about 2 or 3 years ago, I believe.
Hmm.
I think this one that just came out is coming out in a few weeks.
Hmm. That's right. Ride or Die. Yeah, this movie does hold up. I agree with you. There's some dated moments in here. Some of the Randy Quaid stuff isn't in the end and the third act. It's not. It's pretty freaking unbelievably crazy, stupid, hokey.
There's some hokey stuff like Vivica Fox running from the explosion and she jumps into like that utility closet or whatever it is, and she's calling the dog, and the dog jumps in before the explosion gets him. And you can very much see that the dog is on a green screen. It's oh
It's
man.
that thing of an actor running, and an explosion happens behind him, and he dives onto the ground. You know.
Yeah, there are a few things like reaction shots in this movie that don't age the best. It is uber patriotic America, yeah, the movie, but it's still fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's crazy patriotic. I mean, I shouldn't say crazy. It's a little bit. I mean, especially toward the end. By the way, fast forwarding all the way to the end, did you when the president is giving his famous speech, did you notice that there was guys in the crowd with assault rifles?
Yes.
What were they going to do?
Nothing says America like assault rifles.
What was the plan there? They were going up in jets, weren't they?
That this was the entire movie. Like you have like this big strategic attack from the aliens, and they've got like these highly technologically advanced flying saucers, and they're like, "Hey, send the jets at them."
Yeah, yeah. Dude, what?
You might as well had hit the "Here I am, rock you
Fuck you
like a
like a hurricane.
hurricane."
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what those militia guys were doing, like with their semi-automatic weapons. I don't. Well, in case they fall to the ground, I'll be ready.
Hey man, you had Randy Quaid in his like biplane, so
Well, that's fair.
sometimes you
Prop
gotta be
duster.
ready. Yeah.
Yeah. We've mentioned a little bit about the downward spiral of Randy Quaid, and we don't have to go too much detail about it, but he ended up being maybe just as crazy as the guy in this film. We'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah, dude, you're right when you call this a popcorn flick. It's very much mindless entertainment. I'm a big sci-fi guy,
Yeah.
and you are as well. You're a comic book guy too. So I mean, I remember seeing this in the theater. I still have memories of that and how epic it was. Cause like they did a bang up job, Phil. If you remember the promotional campaign, if you know anything about it, they did a bang up job of keeping as many scenes under wraps as they could. So especially the destruction. So that way everyone was shocked when you saw it live in the theater.
Yeah, I thought the promotion for the movie was really, really great. I think the visuals of the movie, of course, are still hold up pretty well. Um, I've always thought like the aliens and stuff looked cool, the flying saucers and everything looked cool. Because up into like the early '90s, '80s, like we've seen like flying saucers and kind of like the hokey aliens. Like this is come a long way from that. I thought the thematically how they built up the mood of the invasion was very very cool. Like
Mhm.
just like the very beginning of the movie and that shadow pulling coming up over the moon, and then we see like the saucer from underneath, and just the way the saucers start touching down on Earth, and like the visual of it, it all looked like the world was coming to an end.
Yeah. Yeah, the pacing of this movie is really well done, isn't it?
Yes, I think the first half of the movie um makes it feel like Earth is in this impossible situation. Like, how are they possibly going to beat these aliens? And just like, I mean, even just like you kind of see right away in the first few minutes of the movie of just like how naive Earth is, because the aliens are kind of like, "Oh, we're way ahead of you," and they're like, "Wait, other life forms exist? Like, wait, all these alarms go off? These alarms don't work for anything. Like, these actually work." Like, I think that's one of the funniest things in the first few minutes where, like, that alarm starts going off, and that guy's like looking like, "Wait, that alarm never goes off. Like, what is that?"
That's very cool. Yeah, and I found it funny, Phil, that they said in the very beginning that it came from the moon, but I don't know if that was supposed to have meant it came from the moon or that was the direction that the signal came from as the ship was passing by it. Maybe.
Yeah, I always read it as that's where the signal was coming
Mm,
from in the direction of the moon, not that they were
mm.
coming directly from the moon.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I could have misread it.
We were talking a little bit about the sequel before we went live. It's a tough watch, kids. We won't talk too much about that today. Phil, you should watch it. I mean, yeah, it's not the worst thing you've ever seen, but it's not great either.
Nah,
So,
I don't know. I'll check it out. But if it's not good, I'll just try and find Mars Attacks and cleanse my palate.
oh my God. Well, how are you on Mars Attacks? You either love or hate that movie.
I love Mars Attacks, man.
Yeah.
It's such a campy movie, and it's
Yeah.
so ridiculous in all of its celebrity cameos. I just can't help but love it. Just there's so many great things about it. Come on, it's Ray J running around as a kid shooting aliens. Like,
It's true. God, I haven't seen that in years. You might be giving us our next episode. Yeah. God, I haven't seen that in a long time. Here's something good. The idea for this movie, and some folks call this ID4. Huh? Huh? Because we're all about the acronyms, Phil.
I remember that was the time period where everything had to have this big ominous poster with like the big acronyms. Yeah.
Yeah. It was MIB, right?
Yes.
ID4. Yeah. But you know what? Who am I to talk? I got 6MP over here. So what am I talking about? The idea for the film came when Emmerich and Devlin were in Europe promoting their film Stargate. A reporter asked Emmerich why he made a film with content like Stargate if he did not believe in aliens. Emmerich stated he was still fascinated by the idea of an alien arrival and further explained his response by asking the reporter to imagine what it would be like to wake up one morning and to discover 15-mile wide spaceships were hovering over the world's largest cities. Emmerich then turned to Devlin and said, I think I have an idea for our next film.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. When you think now that you say that, like a lot of technology the aliens use, it looks very reminiscent of Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
I never put two and two together, but yeah, it does remind me a lot of Stargate.
I will say I love the tech of the aliens. Nothing that they did in this movie jumped out at me and like, what's this crap? Dude, nothing at all that they had here.
Yeah, I thought the aliens looked unbelievably cool. When I was a kid, I thought the flying saucers and everything looked really, really cool.
Mm. Monstrous. God, they're huge.
Yeah.
Cover the entire city. That's a big ship. So where do you fall on the aliens thing, man?
I think it would be incredibly naive to think that in our entire solar system, in our entire galaxy, that we are the only living beings.
I agree with that. I actually really agree with that.
I think there's somewhere there are living beings. Now, maybe they haven't come up with the means of space travel, or maybe they just have no interest in space travel. But I also think it's a very American thing to assume that um, if there are living beings somewhere else, they would just want to invade and kill us.
That is very much an American an American idea, I think.
I've had the long-standing theory that a lot of Americans live in fear that somebody's going to come over here and do to us what we did to the Native Americans.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, not we, because it wasn't my ancestors.
Man, I thought we were in this together, Phil. You left me on my own. My goodness. That's good. Yeah, it is kind of it's kind of horrifying. But I'll tell you this: I've listened Because at any given time, I would dive into the ancient alien stuff. Not so much now because I can't. The narrator just drives me absolutely insane. A lot of really, really smart people have said through the years that if an alien race were that advanced and that intelligent, they would be above the idea of murder to begin with. Like they would be so far evolved in their thought process that, and plus, if they had the technology to come as far as they would need to come to in order to get here, that blowing us off, out of the universe wouldn't even be on their radar because it wouldn't make any sense because they would be coming here to make contact, which would probably be it. Like, are you like a doomsday kind of guy when it comes to this stuff or no?
Nah, I don't really buy into the whole doomsday thing. Um, I think if there are aliens, I don't think that they're worried about coming here to invade our planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that that's their first goal.
And it's like the idea of taking our natural resources, which again, Phil, as you said, is something that this country did a long time ago and continues to do to this day.
Yeah, well, maybe the aliens believe in manifest destiny too.
Well, it's possible. Yeah, I've always, because I'm a comic book guy for all my life, like I've always been in love with the idea of there being something out there, but I'm continuously bummed out because like, you know, nothing's here that we know of. And like it's 2024 as we record this, and still we have no concrete anything. But Phil, we have to at least acknowledge in the past few years what's happened with our government in terms of them releasing details that we never ever thought we would hear, and basically flat out saying, "Yeah, there's stuff out there we can't explain. We don't know what it is." I mean, it's Phil. It took them a lifetime just to admit that, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are also things that are very classified that we do not know. And,
Hmm.
that might be for the greater good. I think information in the hands of everybody isn't always a good thing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. There's even been some guys that appeared on Capitol Hill in these hearings, flat out saying that they have bodies and craft recovered, and we're talking about highly respected individuals. These aren't some crackpots with tinfoil hats on. Flat out saying, yes, the government's had bodies and wreckage for years, and just trying to understand where they came from and what they are, and processing the information they have. And I'm like, man, it's a different time, buddy. Sometimes it's like we're living in a movie anyway. Let's talk about this film, man. First off, let's get to this plot before we talk about the cast. I love the idea of this plot. I love the idea of they just showed up with no warning at all. What about this plot? Is there anything here that smells bad to you? Does it work for you or no?
No, I think the plot works. I think there are some coincidences that, when you really think about it, it's like, well, wait a minute. Oh, you just happen to be introduced to this scientist at the beginning of the movie that Martin has figured out that they're going to attack. Oh, and he just happens to have an ex-wife that is like within arm reach of the president.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
heck of a coincidence, isn't it? But yeah, of course, it's a movie, so
And you notice there's only ever one guy that figures something out.
yeah, of course, because he has to be the special guy. He has to be the hero.
Yes. Yes. It's I love the Judd Hirsch that plays his father here points out, you think they don't know anything. They know it all. They already know. You don't know anything they don't know. They already got it. Like I love that guy, man.
Yeah, very, very Jewish Judd Hirsch in this movie. Um,
Yes.
I love at several points when he intercedes in rooms that he's not supposed to be in, and people are just kind of looking around like, "Who is this guy? What is he doing in here?" Like the like, like the conversation they're having on the plane when Jeff Goldblum's trying to tell them and warn them about something, and somebody tells him, "Shut up and get out of here," and his dad just walks in like, "No, you don't tell my boy to shut up. You all be dead if it wasn't for him." And I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
he's kind of right. Then he
It's
then he
kind of
does
right.
his whole Roswell thing, and everybody's like, "Nah, this guy's just some old man." And then somebody behind him was like, maybe we do have flying false saucer somewhere."
Dude, I have a vivid memory of that moment in the theater when he says that's not entirely accurate. You could hear people in the theater go, like there's an audible, holy crap moment. Cause like Phil, to that point, we were all like, man, this is what it would feel like if this really happened. It would be complete annihilation. And then suddenly, nah, Roswell's real.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Do you remember that happening when you first saw this movie or no?
Yeah, I remember like a lot of the plot twists that were like, ah, I mean, there are aliens in the jar. Like they made contact. The government knew.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the government knew of something bad before all the rest of us did? Come on.
Yeah,
Now I know it's a movie. That's not real life, kids. Government's always been honest and forthright.
yeah. 5 years
So
before a certain attack happened on American soil, that they may have known certain things about the enemy beforehand. About.
it ain't that kind of podcast, but I'm not going to say I haven't read and heard that stuff as well.
Huh,
So they did a lot to finance that guy, didn't they?
yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. Don't worry, kids. We're none of us are wearing tinfoil hats. It's okay. So we're just going to talk about this movie here, but just don't walk around with your eyes closed too awful much, kids. Do your own research. That's what I can tell you.
Don't question things too much, or then you might end up getting sued by the bunch of parents of a certain school and end up on the internet crying about how you losing all your money.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things happen. Let that be a lesson to people that there are consequences for things you say.
Yeah. By the way, F that guy. We at Tom Clark 6M podcast would like to formally say today, F that guy, because I've been seeing clips today as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Ignorance knows no bounds, Phil. So, Will Smith is Captain Stephen Hiller. I got no segue here. He is the Marine FA-18 pilot with the Black Knight Squadron. He's basically the Will Smith that we came to know after the fact. Like, this isn't the Fresh Prince Will Smith. This is, he's cool, he's hip, he's got a smart mouth on him, but he's crazy brave, punching an alien in the face.
Welcome to Earth.
Yes. Look, here's what I'm saying. Without Will Smith punching the alien in the face, maybe years later, we don't get Jason Statham roundhouse kicking a shark in the face. I'm just saying. So,
Yeah, I mean, I love that Will Smith again in this movie is just classifies everything we're supposed to believe about the military and how he's so cool and brave. He always has a great catchphrase. He always kind of figures out a way to get out of a situation that nobody else can. Um, he's like incredibly handsome. In the first few minutes of the movie, we get to see him with his shirt off and all these things. Like he's incredible. And I mean, looks every bit the movie star, but just in this movie, it's so funny that the main action star of this movie, of course, he can do no wrong. He's the perfect military airman that you could think of.
perfect in every way. He's the all-American guy.
Yeah. Somehow just outmaneuvers this alien. All the rest of his friends are getting murdered, and he gets them to follow him into this valley and completely outmaneuvers him and outsmarts him with a parachute.
But yet NASA didn't want him.
Yeah. Go figure.
Go figure. What are you going to do? Disrespected. They'll respect him later, or I should say they'll respect his stepkid because that kid all growed up in the second one. Spoiler alert, and no, it's not the same actor.
Yeah, hey man, Will Smith, all time great airman, all these other things, and just happens to like strippers.
Well, I mean, if we need to go ahead and talk about Vivica A. Fox on stage, we'll go ahead and talk about it because, I'm kind of all here for that. It's really the only reason I showed up. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. B-O-I-N-K, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. Let's talk about Vivica A. Fox on stage in this movie because she doesn't have a lot to do here, Phil. I say that, but because the cast is big and at any given time we're in different locations and whatnot. But I like her story arc at least. It's kind of weird, like when the first lady questions her about or makes a kind of a face and says she's sorry about she's an exotic dance. She's like, I'm not. She's all like, I don't care what anybody thinks, that kind of thing. She's like the strong, fiercely independent woman, but she also loves this guy, of course. What'd you think about Vivica in this film?
She's great. I did think that was kind of an odd scene, but this was American in into 1990s when sex was not everywhere. Um, Porn was not readily available as
Mm,
much on the internet as it is now. And so just the idea of a sex worker wasn't as normalized. Um, so it is weird to look at life through that kind of weird time capsule where she's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to do this," but no, it's a pretty normal thing for somebody to
yeah.
be a stripper. Um, yeah, I think she's great. I think she's the quintessential stripper with a heart of gold in this movie. Um, um
Stripper with a
she
heart of gold.
yeah, that's how they sell her in this movie. Like she's brave, she's a good mother. Um, she's great.
What's the opposite of stripper with a heart of gold? Would that be like a stripper with a cocaine habit and a gun? What would that be?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because every time I see them, well, maybe not every
Maybe
time.
maybe it'd be Ronnie out of Players Club. They'd be like
Oh,
that
well, there you go.
exact opposite, like a conniving, scheming stripper.
Giving strippers everywhere a bad name. The strippers with the heart of gold.
Yeah, I mean that's what Diamond tells her towards the end of the movie when she beats her down and in the last act she tells her she gives all of us a bad name.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we mention that Vivica's character is Jasmine Dubrow, and Jasmine is not her stage name apparently.
Wait, it's not? I always assumed that was her stage name.
I did too, but apparently the only name listed for her is Jasmine Dubrow because he calls her Jasmine in the opening of the film here.
Yes.
So I'm okay with that. Let's be honest with you. Vivica Fox, circa 1996, can allow to be called whatever she wants to be called. Because, dude, I think I'm done. We'll just go ahead and take it home. That's all I want to talk about was Vivica A. Fox on stage. I'm kidding. Everybody, calm down. Let's talk about Bill Pullman as president. Boy, if this is not a presidential name, Phil, I don't know what is. President Thomas J. Whitmore, a former fighter pilot and Gulf War veteran. Isn't it cool how coincidentally that happened? To prepare
America.
for, yes, America. To prepare for the role, Pullman read Bob Woodward's The Commanders and watched the documentary film The War Room.
Yeah, I think Bill Pullman is great. He
Mhm.
pulls off the role very well. Of course, his inspirational speech is legendary at this point. Um,
Mm.
Known also uber patriot. Cody Rhodes has quoted it.
Ah, yeah, okay.
um, yeah, I think Bill Pullman is great in this. The coincidence that he also happened to be a fighter pilot is also very funny, but it's also just kind of the charm of this movie that everything can be solved by the United States Air Force or military.
Well, yeah, that's true because that's a very American way of thinking as well.
Yes.
Like, we got this. Don't worry about it. Not a problem. We got this. Yeah. And this is, of course, you know, 9 years after what some would argue is the greatest role of the actor's lifetime, which is Spaceballs.
Yes, of course.
By the way, kids, it's in the archives. Go check it out. So, yeah, I loved him here. There are moments when he's a little wooden, but I think that's just what the role calls for. And I think he looks very presidential. I think it makes the casting makes a heck of a lot of sense to me. I can't really imagine anybody else in this role. I mean, he can carry his weight. He's the kind of guy I think that can kind of carry his weight no matter who he's on screen with. So for all those reasons, I think he's the right casting here. Opposite of these two guys, we've got as the character of David Levinson, Jeff Goldblum. Cool, quirky, eccentric, hip, modern. Dude's like 70. He's still modern. He found a way to just, I don't know, Phil, like just inhabit this realm, kind of like Nick Cage, where he just kind of inhabits his own little ecosystem of just him. And I mean, he's still considered very cool today. But man, he looked great in this. I don't know if I believe that like a dude that's 6'4" is, you know, objectively good looking, I suppose, but in great shape, was an MIT grad. Kind of felt like he should look more like one of the characters from Big Bang Theory, but that's fine. I feel like today maybe he would, Phil. Do you think maybe if this were made today, he wouldn't be Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, I could see them like not. casting somebody that is so like conventionally good looking and has to fit all of these aesthetics. Because it is very
Mhm.
very funny that he's not only like the smartest guy in the room, but he also gets the girl, and he outsmarts the president. He's like he somehow like has like this wholesome family life with his dad that like is like very doting, but also believes in him more than anybody else. Like he just has he has everything working for him, and when you look at it, it's just like, hey, well, why did this woman leave him? He seems great.
Yeah. And was he ever, well, I can't say he was never in any danger because in the third act, he's in big time danger. But
Yes,
like it kind of took a heck of a long time for him to really get in danger, didn't it?
yeah. I mean, from the beginning of the movie, he just kind of effortlessly wins that chess game with his dad. Like, yeah, well, checkmate. I got to go.
Yeah. 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 And again, Phil, one guy on the planet can figure all this out. Like the descending signal. No other person on the planet had heard the signal, I suppose. I guess the folks that first heard it, or I guess they ran in terror. I guess they just left their post. I don't know what happened there, but he's the only guy that could figure it out.
Yes,
But I will say he's great in this movie, though.
he's fantastic. Just effortlessly, um, charismatic. Had great chemistry with Will Smith in the scenes that he's in with Will. Um, uh, Both very funny and very believable in his role. Uh,
Mhm.
Legend. Jeff Goldblum is a freaking legend.
He is. He really is. And the bit of he's done it in more than just this film. That line of "My God in heaven" at the recycle bin. I totally ripped that off. I've been doing it for years. It's
Yeah,
become such a part of my shtick. I can't help it.
his buddy that he's having a back and forth with. He also has very good chemistry with him. Can't think of his name at this moment, but he was in a ton of things in the early '90s.
Hmm.
Um, I believe wasn't he the voice of Homer's assistant in the episode
I
where
think you're right. Harvey Firestein. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was Harvey. But their chemistry is also very good. But Harvey has a very unmistakable voice. He has a very gravelly voice. So
Hmm.
he has an unmistakable voice. I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that did the voice for Homer's assistant.
Very awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Very awesome. He so funny in this. And I hate that the character dies as soon as he does, man. I kind of wished he'd made a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's very, very funny. When he's like, I gotta call my brother. I gotta call my mom. I gotta call my lawyer. Maybe I won't call my lawyer.
Yeah. But then he does call him and he's like, for $300 an hour, he could answer the phone. Oh, that's good. But yeah, he's actually Marty Gilbert in this movie. And they're all indeed working at a cable television company, compact cable television company. I don't know if I could have told you what they did. When Judd Hirsch made the joke about, I thought it was a joke that he worked for the cable company. I thought that was just a line that he threw out, but turns out it was true.
Yeah, but again, the coincidence of just this guy that just happens to be the smartest guy in the room, that happens to be, ruggedly good looking,
Hmm.
and his ex-wife happens to work for the president. Like but this guy works at the cable company. Like what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these things happen. It's very believable. I mean, it's not, but we're gonna roll with that. He's awesome. You're right. He is a legend. I don't think it's the same movie without him. I don't know who you would have
No.
put in his spot, but man, he really makes it in a lot of this movie.
Yeah, you could not replace Jeff in this movie.
No, not at all. He is in the sequel, kids. I mean, if you need a reason to go see the sequel, I guess you could use that. But I wouldn't use it because it's not a great movie. So we've talked about the military here before we get back in the cast. I want to throw this out there as well. Devlin has said the U.S. military had agreed to support the film by allowing the crew to film at military bases, consulting the actors who have military roles, etc. However, after learning, get this, you're going to love this. Are you ready? After learning of the Area 51 references in the script, they withdrew their support.
Oh no.
Oh.
Wonder why they did that.
Look, if you're implying our government was hiding something, I don't like that. That infuriates me, actually. I'm seething because we're honest and trustworthy here in this grand country. So there you go. Now, Phil, we know what we know. Have they admitted to Area 51 now? Have they flat out said, yes, it's there or no? I think they
No.
have. No?
Have they? Not that I know of, unless I've missed it. But if they have, they of course are not gonna like let anybody know what's in there.
Well, no. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Just, And by the way, kids, if you don't hear from Phil or I after this episode, you'll know what happened. So someone tell my family I love them. Yeah, you never can tell. Men in Black. See, it all ties together. The Men in Black will show up. Don't answer that knock at the door. So let's see. We've got Mary McDonnell as the First Lady, Marilyn Whitmore, who has a sizable role here. She's injured through most of this film. Did you see her not making it in this movie? Did you see that coming? I kind of thought she'd be okay.
I did not see that coming. After all of the stuff to get her back to her family and get this big reunion, I did not think that would happen.
Yeah. I kind of question why they felt the need to kill her like that. It's kind of weird. We mentioned Judd Hirsch as Julius Levinson. He's fantastic here. Judd Hirsch has had a career in Hollywood for a lot of years. And let's see, Judd is still with us. Of course, we know that he's a legend from Taxi. I used to watch Taxi as a kid. I thoroughly enjoyed that show. But he's great here, man. Perfectly cast too, isn't he?
Yes, he's great. Very funny. Very believable in his role as a doting father. Very funny.
Yeah. He was in the sequel as well, Phil. Now you have 2 reasons, Phil, to go see part 2 or to watch it on streaming. Because we don't go to movies anymore. So. Yeah. Well, because I know you're looking for reasons to watch it. Well, now you have another one. You're welcome for that. Robert Loggia, who is General William Gray. Loggia, he modeled this character off George S. Patton. And if kids, you may not know his name, but if you're of a certain age, you'll know his face because he was in a lot of stuff. He's excellent in this movie. He was one of the guys that made it all the way through to the end, which was cool. Randy Quaid as Russell Case. Hoy. Man, Randy Quaid's been all kinds of goofy these days, Phil. And yeah. So
you didn't do the Family Guy bit with Robert Loggia.
I did not.
R for Robert
that
Loggia.
Was kind of kick. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Robert Loggia.
What's funny? I just had something kicking around in my head, and I thought, why do I feel the need to talk about? Because and that's what it is. It's that bit. Yeah.
B,
oh my God, it's Robert.
B as in by God, it's Robert Loggia.
Oh, it's fun because it takes 30 minutes to do his name. So, I got a short name. It wouldn't be that fun for me. Yeah, great bit. What Randy Quaid, by the way, insanely wacky in real life, just as insanely wacky here. And we know about the National Lampoon's vacation films and everything. So he's very much of his time, Phil. He's like a character of his time. The characters he portrayed were definitely of their time. He's good in this, but man, it gets real hokey in the third act, especially when he goes to, sacrifice himself. But What do you think about wacky Randy Quaid here?
He's he's very fun here. He's very reminiscent of a lot of like very early sci-fi movies. The whole crackpot tinfoil guy that's like, see, I told you, aliens are real, and he's like, he's gonna take on the aliens in a very DIY way. Um, and so I enjoy it. Again, it's America, the movie. The ingenuity of Americans. Um, but like I said, he's very likable here. He's very funny.
He is. I did like the scene in the RV when he's like, "Well, I said it. Ain't I been saying it?" That's kind of cool. I like that. Uh, he is an outspoken supporter of an ex-president here in this country who we will not
Oh,
name.
oh.
Oh, brother, if you didn't know, now you know. It's bad, you know. It's
I,
bad.
I had assumed this much based on other things I've seen him say, but yeah, I mean, he has a good character arc here, where his kids don't believe in him, and his kids are very down on him. His oldest called him an idiot very early in the movie, and he's just kind of
True.
shown as like this embarrassing drunk. He crop dusted the wrong field. But by the end of the movie, he does something heroic, and he gives his kids a legacy.
We've absolutely put a bow on everything by the end of this movie, especially his story.
Yeah.
You know, you notice how none of his kids look anything like him, too. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Movie magic.
Movie magic, such as it is. Yeah, he's had all kinds of legal issues, of course, off camera, and really crazy stuff. Kids, go look it up. I won't tell you about it. We lost his brother as well, Phil. Don't know if you saw those sound bites in the past couple weeks, but yeah, good old Dennis has gone the way of the dodo, just like his brother did. Um, it's not awesome. So when I say we kids, I don't particularly mean the other party. I just mean we as like sane, normal people. So yeah, hopefully all you guys are in the same boat as we are. Don't not be in the boat. The water is cold and the door is only so big. So stay in the boat. Don't be a hero, or
Yeah,
don't be
well,
an idiot, as it were.
always remember Dennis for great things like Great Balls of Fire.
Jerry Lee Lewis, yeah. It's funny to see. He did. By the way, he's tremendous in that film, and that's Jerry Lee's voice coming out of his mouth, which is weird now. At the time, maybe not so weird, but definitely weird now. I guess because we've seen so many actors actually sing the parts.
Yes.
So yeah, but he's a big part of this film.
Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you.
Margaret Collin is Constance. She is the White House Communications Director and David's ex-wife that we talked a little bit about here. She's great. She's kind of one-dimensional. There's not a whole heck of a lot there. You know, David had gotten upset with one point at the president-elect or president-to-be or the aspiring president who he apparently punched in the head at some point. So they had heat.
Yeah, I mean, again, just the eyes of this guy. Everybody, all of the male characters, other than, of course, like his very gay friend at work, his dad, are just the most masculine possible, and so they must have like the most masculine way of solving their problems. And it's like this guy that works at the cable company, and his ex-wife is an advisor to the president. Um, when at one point when you can see they have a little bit heat in early in the movie where the president's just like, yeah, let's hope you're as smart as everybody says you are,
Yeah.
and then everybody's like, wow, what's going on with there? That was kind of mean. Why did he do that? And then we learned that they like got into like a physical altercation, like because of course he would have a physical altercation with the most powerful man in the country.
Of course. I like how like the David Levison character is like, I didn't do it, because he's like, you know about these aliens, and I'm like, as the audience, we're going, he doesn't know anything. He just discovered the countdown. That's all. So that was fun. Yeah. Well, they're grasping at straws, Phil. Everything's been blown up. Everything's blown up. Can we talk about how immensely impressive, and we touched on it already, but like they dedicate a huge block of time to the initial attack. And like, I don't think there's even music during a lot of the attack. They wait till like near the end and the destruction of the White House, which did, like, I think it eventually made the trailers and whatnot. But dude, the attack itself is breathtaking, isn't it?
Yeah, the visuals and the special effects are really, really cool. Just like those initial shots of like the White House getting blown up, and I believe it's Empire State Building in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all look really good. Looked really believable.
God, it so did. Yeah. This film holds the record for the most miniature model work to appear in one film, even to this day, which is crazy. Model shop supervisor Michael Joyce estimated that more miniatures were used for this film than in any other two films combined. Due to the advances in digital technology since the film's release, most experts believe this record may stand forever. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Most of the dialogue in the scenes with Jeff Goldblum, where he shared the screen with Judd Hirsch and Will Smith, were improvised. That's very cool. That's very cool. Speaking of Robert Loggia, R is for, yeah. Supposedly, Roland Emmerich was notified one day that Robert Loggia was very upset and refusing to leave his trailer. Several days earlier, producer Dean Devlin accidentally suggested to Loggia that he watch Airplane for inspiration when he actually intended to suggest Airport. Not familiar with either film, Loggia rented Airplane, and after watching it, thought he had knowingly been participating in the production of a spoof movie.
Two vastly different movies. Okay.
Very different movies. What a great story. Imagine trying to tell this working actor who's made an entire career of this to his face, look, I screwed up. It's my fault. It's the wrong movie. I'm so sorry. Like, man, that's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts. That nice little thing to throw in there. Also, a couple of other actors here. James Rebhorn as Albert Nimzicki. You don't know the name, kids, but you'll know the face because he's a villain in a lot of stuff. He's appeared in over 100 films. He's the guy that the president fires in the end. I did like the moment, Phil, when he goes to sit down with Judd Hirsch's character in the prayer circle. I did really enjoy that, actually. I don't know why that made me feel good when I saw that happen.
Yeah. I think this movie is really good at interpersonal relationships.
Mm.
I think it does a good job of all these little small interactions with people. And again, I made this joke earlier about how this movie in some ways is about the ingenuity of the American people, but it really is. It's really about us getting to see past our differences and believe in our fellow man.
Mm. Yeah. Well said. Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't think we saw him again though, did we? Isn't that the last time we saw him?
I think so.
I think so. But he's excellent in this film. He's just hateable enough, kids. You got to have some kind of villain besides the slimy aliens. So
yeah, I think that all of his advisors feel very much believable as advisors to the president. They all seem like those kind of guys that you could see standing behind a president at like the State of the Union or something.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, he very, very much looks the part. We've also got Adam Baldwin, not that Adam Baldwin, as Major Mitchell. He's the guy at Area 51 that the president asked him to shoot the Coke can off or Goldblum asked him to shoot the Coke can off the ship. So that's Adam Baldwin. Brett Spiner. You're going to love this name, Phil. Brett Spiner as Dr. Brackish Oaken. Brackish.
Yeah, of course. Brackish. Yeah, that is
Yes.
our very quirky, introverted doctor that doesn't understand that his humor at the wrong times is not working. Read the room, Doc. Read the room.
Right. Yeah. Well, we also kind of find out that they don't allow regular people down there too much, so he didn't really get to see daylight all that often.
Yeah, he's
So he's
very
kind of a
kooky
crackpot.
and
Mhm.
yeah, very kooky and craving human interaction outside of his colleagues, and yeah, doesn't come off the best.
Mm. Yeah, no kidding. He's his character is actually his appearance and verbal style are based upon those of visual effects supervisor Jeffrey A. Oken, with whom Emmerich had worked on Stargate.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's fun. James Duvall plays Miguel Case, and that is, of course, Russell Case's son in this movie. So he's here. We've also got Bill Smitrovich as Lieutenant Colonel Watson, commanding officer of the Black Knights. We've also got Kirsten Warren as Tiffany. That's the friend of Jasmine. I think that's the one that went up to the roof of the Empire State Building with the sign written in English because, Phil, aliens can read English.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think the idea that she was just so gung ho, like, I'm excited to see the aliens, and then she just like immediately gets killed and is never talked about again.
Yeah, no kidding. No one's crying for her here. I mean, she was kind of an idiot. That she didn't tell her not to go. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's a very much a character for Vivica Fox to play off of. I told that white girl to not go up there. What's she doing?
Yeah. Well, again, she had been warned. She chose to not heed the warning.
Yeah, it very much felt like the trope of every scary movie we've seen in of like, don't go in that room. What are you doing? There's the killer's in there. Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
go up there. You're gonna get killed.
And I knew this because I'm sure we talked about this in the Fresh Prince episode. But Dylan Dubrow, who is Jasmine's son, played by Ross Bagley, who was also Nikki in Fresh Prince.
Yes.
I totally forgot about that. And he played Buckwheat in the Little Rascals.
Yes. Also,
That's
yeah,
right.
Little Nicky that they aged up for that season of Fresh Prince because he goes from a baby to being able to walk around and talk and all these other things. And that was the same season that Janet Hoover was gone, and they replaced Aunt Viv with the new Aunt Viv.
Mm-hmm. Like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, very weird. We just have a different Aunt Viv walking around, and they just aged Nikki up like nothing happened. Like,
yeah. Look, Phil, time passes, people grow up, and people sometimes change drastically their physical appearance, bone structure, height, voice, everything.
yeah. I was really excited to see him when they did the Fresh Prince reunion, and he walked in, and they were all still so happy to see him. It's not like he had like this great acting career after this, but just the fact that they still saw him as family, just such a cool thing to see. Yeah. If you haven't seen that, the Fresh Prince reunion, really, really good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff, kids. We highly recommend that. December 26, 2020, day after Christmas. You can go back and find that episode in the archives. Rounding out this large cast of characters, Lisa Jacob, Giuseppe Andrews, who play Alicia and Troy, respectively, were the other two, Russell's other two kids. Frank Welker on vocal effects. So, oh, by the way, I totally forgot Mr. Harry Connick Jr., who is, you want to talk about, Phil, the typical, stereotypical yeehaw cowboy character. Like, that is absolutely Harry Connick Jr. in this movie, man. What you think about him? He had like 5 minutes, and that's all they gave him.
Yeah, this was very much a role for him, but again, a very American staple stereotype for the movie.
Mm. Yeah. I'm a fan of his music too. I know there's some haters out there. That's fine. I don't care. I like what I like. So I'm a jazz guy anyway, so I like his stuff. Well, there you have it, kids. There's the cast. And let me tell you something. again, when it comes to sci-fi classics, Phil, this has got to be up there. Where, we've covered a lot of the Star Wars films here. We've covered a lot of other sci-fi classics here. We've done RoboCop here. Again, we've done a lot of the MCU. So like the modern day sort of sci-fi and space stuff. We've done the Disney Star Wars universe here in one compiled episode. I mean, of course, we've done comic book stuff here, obviously, and we've done big franchises, the X-Men franchise and all that stuff, and the one-off films. But of course, this did have a sequel. It did Terminator 1 and 2 because they only made 2 films. So we've done those. Phil, where do you kind of rank Independence Day? Is it dated so much that you can't rank them with the greats of all time, or is it top 10? What do you think about that?
I think it's definitely one of the most popular sci-fi movies of all time. I think sci-fi can be very niche, but I think there's enough here to make this way more popular than the usual like heady sci-fi, because it's sci-fi, but it's also basically an action movie.
Mm. It is basically an action movie.
Yeah, not even basically, it is action movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a nice balance too, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's why it works. You can bring in different audiences to enjoy this movie. Like some of the fans of like your usual sci-fi fare will enjoy it, but also the people that want to see the big explosions and want to see like the handsome leading men and all that stuff. They also have that here as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's got a little bit of everything. And again, I love the fact that this is a Hollywood doomsday flick, but unlike some of the other films that came after this through the years, what was the one where like everything got really cold and dude was like straight up walking and just frozen in place or some such nonsense? What was that one? Day After Tomorrow or something like that?
Yes, Day After Tomorrow. I was trying to
Oh,
remember as you were saying it, but yeah, that's exactly what it.
horrible movie. I'm sorry. I was not a fan of that. I mean, I spent too much of the film sitting there going, "Oh, come on!" Like, I can't help it. I can't help it. But I didn't do that here, Phil. I really didn't do that. The only time it got really weird was kind of the cheesy one-liners, the up yours comment in the end, and just, oh God, you're meeting your demise. You are going to die, and that's what you do. Like, oh, it's terrible.
Hey boys, I'm back.
Oh God, it's so bad. That is so bad.
It's supposed to be funny. I mean,
Sure.
I feel kind of the same way with the monologue we get initially with Will in the jet, um, where he's having like this Top Gun banter with his friend that's in the other jet, and like within minutes of him like being upset that his friend gets killed, then he all of a sudden starts like bantering the other alien, the other flying saucer, and he's like making jokes, and but like none of that ever happened.
Yeah, when he's dragging that thing's body across the desert and he yells, "What's that smell?" That was improvised. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah. No, but him getting him landing on his feet out of parachute, and then he gets up and he's like, "Come on, what?" And he's like, get off me!" Pull
Yeah.
the parachute off of him. He's like, "What? Bring all the rest of your friends. I'm gonna line them all up right next to you." How can you not like Will Smith? He's so great.
He's so great. And I was kind of okay with him shrugging off the death of his best friend because when you're military, you're kind of trained. You got to keep going. There's no stopping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, just everything about it. The fact that he punches the alien in the face and then proceeds to light up a cigar, like, and there's one liner after that is ridiculous.
Oh man, that's wonderful. Yeah. It's Will Smith in his prime, Phil, and we're just now starting to get a glimpse of what this guy's capable of. There's a lot more to come for that guy too, but like, man, Phil, fast forward to the past couple of years. Look, I know he's coming back with this Bad Boys film. I'm not here to trash the guy, but buddy, no one will ever forget the thing with Chris Rock. right? I mean, it'll never go away. He may be able to overcome it, but he's got a 10-year ban from the Oscars now. Like,
Yeah, yeah, on the night of one of his greatest achievements as an actor.
mm,
And King Richard is a very good movie. I thought he was very good in it.
mm,
And it's unfortunate that a lot of people aren't talking about how great he was in that movie or the fact that he deserved that Oscar that night.
mm.
Um, yeah, but that's gonna follow him for the rest of his career, unfortunately. And he did hit that point in his career where people had gotten a little bit tired of him. I think it's the movie made with his son, After Earth, and that
Mm.
movie did not do well at all, critically or commercially. And you could see some of the cracks in like this big uh career that he had built up at that point. But I thought he bounced back pretty well with some of the movies he made after that. Not all of them are received well, but he's made some very good movies in the last few years. Uh, yeah, unfortunate that that's not going to follow, one of his biggest career highlights. I'll tell you though, um, that visual of him after all the smoke had cleared in that party with his Oscar, rapping his own song and partying like none of that happened, hilarious. Hilarious. I saw that and I was like, nah, Will Smith is a legend, man. Getting on stage and slapping somebody and receiving your first Oscar for best leading actor, and then minutes later dancing and singing, getting jiggy with it like none of that happened. It's
Dude,
so funny.
did they take the Oscar back?
No, I don't think they did.
I don't
I
think
would
they.
have hated if they did that. That didn't seem necessary.
Yeah,
Maybe that's me. I'm sure some people might disagree, but I wouldn't have agreed with that.
yeah. Well, look, again, there's no denying. No matter what happens, like you should be so lucky to have two hits of the multiple hits this guy's had. The number of franchises this guy's been a part of, like it's crazy, man.
Yeah, he's done a DC movie. He's done his own superhero work. He's been in numerous blockbuster films. He's been in
Mhm.
numerous serious films. I think 7 Pounds is extremely underrated.
Mm,
Uh, Very good film. I think he was very good in Ali. He made a very strong case that he could have won that year for that movie.
I agree.
Um, he's been phenomenal. He's had an incredible career.
Yeah, yeah. I'm okay with everything. Yeah, this is again, people need to grow up, get a hold of yourself. This isn't this. I got a 15-year-old at home. I've spent 15 years of my life teaching my 15-year-old who's now a teenager. Yeah, we don't solve our problems with our fists or our hands. That's not how we solve anything unless it's self-defense or you're helping someone who's being attacked. Like you didn't gain he didn't I mean Phil, he didn't gain anything. I'm sure if he could take it back, he would take it back. Like,
Yeah,
man,
it
what a
seems.
bad decision.
Yeah, seems like he immediately regretted it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, unfortunate.
We talked about the speech. Brother, there's a lot going on with this speech. And I won't read the whole thing here to you kids, but it is really, really good. It's only 3 paragraphs. It feels like it kind of takes a while, but it really does not take that long. But this moment is really, really awesome. It was filmed on August 6th, 1995, in front of an old airplane hangar that once housed the Enola Gay, which dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima exactly 50 years earlier on August 6, 1945. The crowd was not scripted to start cheering. Bill Pullman's delivery of the speech was so good that they just started applauding and cheering on their own, and the filmmakers kept it in the movie. That's a great little bit of trivia, dude. I'm so here for that. What do you think about that rah-rah speech at the end, man? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think you could easily, kind of eye roll at it.
Mhm.
I think it's really good. I think it plays very well into the idea that this alien invasion would happen on of all days, July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
And I think that they play off that really well. I thought the speech was great. I thought Bill's excuse me, delivery was really, really good. Uh, and as hokey as it might seem, I thought that it felt very inspirational. It felt very genuine.
It did. Yeah. Well, Phil, the idea of it's kind of like after the 9/11 thing. It didn't really. I mean, yes, it was in America where this sucks, but like people from, governments from around the world were like sending their, sending, I don't know what to call it, like their goodwill. And there was this idea, this notion of, yeah, we're all really in this together. Like there's no one country safe from anything. Like, and that's kind of a Watchmen thing, isn't it? Where like Ozymandias just has this grand plan to unify all the world's governments by destroying half of New York, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they were squids in those things, weren't they? I mean,
That's right.
basically squids.
Basically squids, just saying. But yeah, because at the end of the day, Phil, we may have cultural differences and language barriers and whatnot, but dude, I would submit that most people are just trying to, be normal people raising their kids or doing whatever they're doing, going to a job or whatnot. And like, so much divide on the world, man. It's nuts. Just nuts. This speech, by the way, kids, Devlin says he wrote the speech in literally 5 minutes as a placeholder with a thought that could always be changed later. That is insane to me. So, yeah, Devlin also revealed that he had told Emmerich during the writing process they should give Whitmore a kind of St. Crispin's Day speech, referencing a similarly famous speech in Shakespeare's Henry V. Bill Pullman told Complex that he researched various acclaimed speeches from the 20th century to inform his recitation, drawing particular inspiration from a speech Robert Kennedy made shortly after finding out Martin Luther King Jr. had been shot. He just knocked this one out of the park, Devlin said. None of us were prepared for it until his first rehearsal, and then we were just staring in awe and wonder. So, yeah, really, really good stuff. Talking to Complex, Michael Waldman, president of the Brennan Center for Justice and director of speechwriting for President Bill Clinton, said, I wrote a book that was a collection of great presidential speeches. And if, in fact, the world had been invaded by aliens, this speech would have made the collection. So that's high praise. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. And by the way, Phil, here's a good little tidbit. They saved the very last line of this speech when he said, today we celebrate our Independence Day. They saved that because the studio was not sold on it. The film up until that point was going to be called ID4 because supposedly Warner Brothers owned the rights to the title Independence Day. But Emmerich and Devlin added this line to the end of the speech, hoping it would convince the studio back in their film, 20th Century Fox, to fight for the Independence Day title, which is their preferred title. Fox wanted the title Doomsday. So Devlin and Emmerich's efforts worked here, of course. So I don't know that there's anything moving forward with this, but I mean, there's been, let's see, there's video game. I don't know that I ever played that. It came out in 97. Not a whole lot here, Phil. I kind of expected comic books and whatnot. Well, there we go. Marvel comic book was also written based on the first two novelizations. There were novels. But it looks like there's not been a lot happened since then. Some toys, but that's kind of it. If you were tasked with, hey, we want to keep this thing going, like, in what fashion would you do it? Would you suggest a streamer? Would you suggest another film? Would you suggest a comic series? What would you do to tackle this if you were one of the guys behind it?
Yeah, I think something like a mini series would work better than a movie.
Hmm.
I think there's something really interesting about like that time period of rebuilding right afterwards that they could have done an interesting mini series on.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a book series. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books, with the fifth being the novelization of the sequel. So yeah, you mentioned that film with Will Smith and his kid. How bad is that movie?
It's not
Because I've
terrible,
not
but
seen it.
it's not good.
Is it?
I think the worst thing I can say about it is that it's very boring.
Well,
Yeah, it's just very, very boring, very slow, and it very doesn't seem like anything really happens by the end.
And all the Karate Kid stuff, it's like Will Smith adjacent. He's like producer, and there's another film coming up too. And like they're actually incorporating the Cobra Kai series into this movie. Like, I really don't know what's happening here because I'm not sure what we're really doing here with the character of Mr. Miyagi. Like, I did feel I don't have any. All right, I'm kind of misunderstanding here what's going on. I did not see the other Karate Kid film
The
with
one with
Will's
Jaden?
kid in it. Yeah,
It's actually good. I enjoy it.
is it?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Is he Mr. Miyagi in that movie as well?
I don't
Jackie
know if he
Chan?
ever calls him me. Does he ever call him Miyagi in that movie?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember, but yeah, because it doesn't take place in America. It takes place in China. It was like Jaden's character and his mom, who's Taraji P Henson, moved from Detroit overseas. And that's kind of the concept of the movie. And he's getting bullied by some kids at his school. And that's what causes him to learn karate, which is really kung fu because he's he's in China. But I think it's a good movie. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio's in the flick. And he is, of course, going to be Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah, he wasn't Mr. Miyagi in the movie. It's Mr. Han.
Mr. Han, there you go.
Yeah.
Did
I
they
was trying to
tie
remember.
back? Yeah.
No, they don't really tie back to the original films.
Oh, okay.
I didn't understand the hate for those films. I thought, if anything, Jackie Chan is very good in it.
I love Jackie Chan. Talk about another legend, dude.
So you're saying they're making another one?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio's in it as well. Coming out next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Jaden's going to be in it?
I don't see anything about him being in it yet. Let's see. Joshua Jackson as Victor. Shawnette Renee Wilson as Miss Morgan. Ben Wong as Lee Fong. But I do not see Smith in here. Interesting, but Will is listed as a producer post-production. Wow. Yeah. I you know what? I may give that film a shot now. I've never watched that film.
Yeah, I would say at least try it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it got a bad rep, to be honest.
You mentioned Mars Attacks earlier. The huge hype that the film began generating in early 96, the film meaning ID4, caused Warner Brothers to postpone the release of Mars Attacks in 96 from summer to Christmas, and Steven Spielberg temporarily canceled his plans to direct War of the Worlds in 2005, because that would have been way too much at one time for sure.
Yeah, and I think about it, we did get a lot of alien invasion movies around that same time period.
Yeah. That's funny. At around 1 hour, 17 minutes in the briefing room scene at Area 51, behind Hiller and Gray, there is a night vision pan of the base. What you are seeing are actual shots of the real Area 51 taken by a conspiracy theorist from a place called Freedom Ridge. The ridge was commandeered by the U.S. government in the late 1990s and is no longer accessible to the public. Interesting. Yeah. Devlin and Emmerich penned the script for this movie in 4 weeks. It was sent out on a Thursday, and they started fielding offers the next day. By Monday, they were in pre-production. They knew they had a hit, Phil, right? They must have. I mean, this film made a lot of money, dude. Holy Lord. I mean, $817 million on a budget of $75 million. That's insane. When Dean Devlin first pitched the script to 20th Century Fox, it was described as War of the Worlds meets Pulp Fiction. I don't know if I'd say that.
Interesting description.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that, but still a really, really good movie. Well, kids, there you go. Man, there's a lot of trivia here on this film, folks. A lot of good stuff happening here. The alien spacecraft in Area 51 was a full-scale model measuring 65 feet wide. So that was an actual model. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Wow. I thought that was just some camera trickery. Yeah, that's wonderful. I wonder if that's sitting somewhere, you think?
Has to be. It's got to be in like some big warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, next to the Lost Ark. We have our men on that. We have top men on it. Yeah. At around 40 minutes, special edition only, Vivica A. Fox's character quits her job as a stripper. When she leaves, she says to her boss, "Nice working for you, Mario," in a sarcastic tone. This is a jab at producer Mario Kassar, who forced Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin to cut some scenes from their last film, Stargate. Oh, that's great. Well, folks, I'm not going to endorse the second film. There's a good cast in it. I mean, you can so tell that they really miss and need Will Smith in that movie, dude. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the dollar is the only thing that matters, but how do you even move forward without that guy, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's the star of this movie.
Yeah, crazy. Well, folks, there you have it. Independence Day. It is a true classic in every sense of the word. Very, very much worth your time. If for some weird reason you're but a child and haven't seen this film, for goodness sake, go see it. When I say go, I mean go watch it somewhere. Because as I said, we don't go to the theater anymore. Can't go see this one anyway unless you go from where you are to go see it. I'm trying to save my flub, can you tell? Watch this movie. Stream it. Check it out. You'll love it. Hopefully, I think you will. You'll enjoy it. And if you haven't seen it in a while, it holds up. There's some cheeseball moments in it, but it's okay. It's still highly, highly entertaining. So, Phil, let's take this home now. Give me your last word on Independence Day.
Yeah, still a very fun popcorn movie. There's bits of it that are a bit dated, but all of the things about it that were good in 1995 are still great. Will Smith is still fantastic in it. Jeff Goldblum is still a legend. All of the sci-fi aspects and all of the explosions and big, massive blockbuster stuff that hit then still hits. Still a very enjoyable movie.
It very much is. By the way, one last bit of trivia for you. Jada Pinkett Smith turned down the role of Jasmine because of scheduling conflicts with the Nutty Professor. She would later, of course, marry Will Smith. So now we'll get Will's wife's name out of my mouth. So, because I bruise easy, Phil. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, that would have been awkward. I don't know if they've ever played opposite each other in a movie.
That's a great point. I don't think they have. Lots of stuff to enjoy here, kids. I was not taking a shot. Everybody calm down. We are supposed to be having fun here. But yeah, Will Smith, he is a legend. I can't take any of that stuff away from him. But yeah, go watch this flick. Enjoy. And stay tuned for a whole lot more coming your way soon. And I'm sure more Will Smith content coming your way soon as well. Easy for me to say. That and a whole lot more. But for now, that is Independence Day.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.